Original Xbox, modded, over 3,000 games on it. I use unleashX as the dashboard. Orange. People ask me why is the light orange. That's because you can mod the light also and change it to red, green, or orange. And I just use orange just to match the dashboard. I had somebody ask me what is an emulator before. So I don't put the stuff in emulators anymore. I put everything in games. You got MAME, arcade. You got NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. neoGenesis, which is Sega Genesis. Rootage is just a spaceship shooting game similar to Geometry Wars. Surreal 64, that's the Nintendo 64 emulator. And SneXbox, that's the Super Nintendo one. I'm going to go ahead and start from the bottom. I'm going to go into Super Nintendo. Select game. Super Nintendo had over 750 games in there. So the fast scroll using the trigger. Yep, over 750 games. You just click on the game and it starts right up. My favorite, Mario 3. Everything saves automatically to the system hard drive. Alright, I'm playing one-handed here, don't talk shit. There you go, quick preview. The right controller is also a button. If you push down on it, you get this menu. Reset the game. You can save state, which is a cool feature because you could actually save the game exactly where you're at. Click the joystick for the menu again. You could turn the box off, come back hours later, and you'll have your saved game in the exact spot you left off. So it's a cool little feature on the Super Nintendo, and there's 10 slots for each game. There's cheat codes in here. There's actually Game Genie and Pro Action cheat codes in here. And you could also exit the games from here. B for exit. exit and then select Y for yes. Drops you back out to the main dashboard. Go back in there. Moving up from the bottom, we got Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 uses Surreal 64 B5.5 update, so I'm not sure if it's the newest one, but it's a really new update for that dashboard. I put over 100 games in here, 108. This is cool because it has the box art on the side. I'm gonna put all the most popular Nintendo 64 games on here. Basically a preview of the games. Nintendo 64 had about 400 and something games that they had actually made for the system. I don't put all 400 games on here because a lot of the Nintendo 64 games were not good. Some of them were classic and some of them were really bad games. It was Nintendo's first try at 3D though, so I just basically include all the most popular games, all the good games that came out on Nintendo 64. Start up Castlevania, why not? On this dashboard update, they actually give you 3 different emulators because there was problems with the N64 game running on the Xbox previously. So on this update, they added 3 different emulators for you to use if you have issues or there's glitching or it's slow. Whatever's highlighted is the default though. You start off with that. They have these different plugins which kind of speed the game up, slow it down, do different things for you. Whatever's highlighted, like I said, go with that first. This one was highlighted, so I'm gonna start the game with whatever the default highlight is. And if I have problems, I have some other options. So let's go with the default. Game loads up. You get a controller pack message because you're not using the normal Nintendo 64 controllers. You're obviously using an Xbox controller. So the game notices that, and then it just saves everything to the hard drive. And it remembers that setting for the next time you open that game. So if I play Castlevania again on this system, that message won't even come up again. These emulators aren't perfect. Some of the games are going to have some glitching. You're going to have some choppiness a little bit here and there because it is an emulator. It's not the actual hardware. It's something to make the Xbox think it's the original hardware, so it's not going to be perfect. But I'll tell you what, my product is pretty damn good. I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now on Craigslist, and I've only had maybe 2 or 3 returns, and that was because of hardware problems or the motherboard went bad or the power went bad. So I stand by my product. I have a very good product here. Start this up real quick. But like I said, the Nintendo 64 games had a lot of issues previously with skipping and glitching and not being able to run. With this update I have on here, 5.5, for the most part, it seems like most of these games run pretty smooth. And like I said, you have different options if they don't. Okay, one-handed here again, so just for preview's sake. Gonna move around here, jump around. As you can see, it runs smooth though. Some of the buttons might need to be reconfigured just because the Nintendo 64 had that Z button at the bottom, so you might have to change that to either the D-pad or one of the triggers or something. You also get a menu if you push the right button on the Nintendo 64. You get the same type of menu as the Super Nintendo. Load game, save state. I already said what those are. You got controller settings in here. You could reset the ROM. You could go back to your ROM list which is your games list. You can quit Surreal from here, and you can shut down the Xbox even from here. But I'm just going to quit Surreal, go back to that main dashboard. Boom, there we are. Okay, go back in. Like I said, that's just a spaceship shooting game. It's like Geometry Wars, a bunch of triangles flying around, bullets all over the place. It's a okay game if you're in the mood. Just a single game, like I said. I just included as an extra. This is the Genesis, Sega Genesis right here. Just click on it and go in. The Nintendo and the Genesis emulators made by the same people, Mad Mab, or the Mad Mab edition, I should say. So they both look exactly the same. But this is the Genesis one. You go in, you go to select game. Game list comes up. I'm just fast scrolling using the right trigger. Genesis had over 800 games that they made for the system. I include all 800 on there. Different versions of Sonic in here. There's even some hacks where somebody created some different graphics and different levels and stuff. But the standard ones in here also. This message comes up before the Genesis and the Nintendo games. It's just some further options and settings and some extra hacking stuff. You don't really need to change any of this stuff. I never change any of this stuff. You push B, and your game loads up, and that message won't come up for that game anymore. So you won't have to worry about that message the next time you play Sonic. One-handed gamer's back. Trying to see how far I could get with one hand, but I'm not going to keep y'all waiting. This game also has a menu if you push down on the controller button. Similar to the other menus, you can return to the game. Looks like there's some cheat codes on here. I haven't really messed with the cheat codes in the Sega Genesis, but it looks like there's some on here. You can also exit the game from here. Cancel. Down to return the launcher. And yes, it drops you back to the dashboard. Alright, we also have Nintendo in here. Like I said, the Nintendo opens up just like the Genesis. The dashboard looks exactly the same. Push B, get you out of there. Select game. The Nintendo has, the original Nintendo had over 770 games or something like that for it. All of them on here. fast scrolling so you can see the amount of games I put on these consoles. All legit. Nothing in my ad is false. I stand by my product. No bullshit, no scam, nothing extra to buy. I sell it with one controller, both cords. Oh, and also inside this Nintendo folder, I also included a pirate folder, which has over 400 more games and stuff that wasn't released for Nintendo in America. So a lot of Japanese games. There's a bunch of game hacks in here. J is for Japan. I want to say U is, might be either Universal or Universal. There's some European games in here. There's a bunch of games that people actually made up. They went in and changed the graphics or changed some levels around, added some levels. But most of them are just Japanese games that never came out in America, which is pretty sweet. Then there's also these 115 and 1s and 1200 and 1s. Some of them might have Atari games in it. Some of them might have simple puzzle games. There's these 20 and 1s. Just a bunch of really good, cool stuff. A lot of old school stuff in there. Puzzle games. Just some really fun stuff in there. So that option's in there too. You go back up to the top where it says NES ROMs, and that's how you get back to your normal folder. And we're back in our normal stuff here. Start up 1942 here. This comes up just like on the Genesis. Just push B to get out of that, and you get to your game. Push start. And you got your Nintendo version of 1942 there. Alright. Push down on the controller like it's a button, and you get that settings menu. You could exit the games from here. Cancel, go down to return the launcher, go up to yes, and you're back to the main dashboard. Really simple, really easy to use. I stand by my product. I always have these. If you're interested in getting one, get in contact with me. Original Xbox with over 3,000 games on it. And the only other thing on here left is the MAME, which is the arcade system. I put 900 arcade games on here. It's mostly old school arcade games. Pac-Man, Galaga, Centipede, Asteroids, that kind of stuff. There's no newer arcade games on here. You're not going to find Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat on the arcade version. Just old school, really small games. But there is Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, obviously, in the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, I think. So that's that. I'm not going to open the MAME arcade just because the first time you open it, it loads the games list, and it's 900 games, so it takes like 5-10 minutes. I guess I could cut it and show it, but I'm not going to do it right this second just because I don't want to wait 5 minutes. But once it opens up, you'll get your games list. It'll be 900 games on there. Like I said, just old school arcade games. Stuff you'll remember from the bowling alleys back in the day. Arcade rooms when you were kids. So pretty cool to some people. But anyway, that's my preview of my original Xbox that I'm selling with over 3,000 games on it. I sell it with one controller, a power cord, and an AV cable. If you want one, get in contact with me. I always have these, and I only sell them for $100. I mean, come on, you can't beat that. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 old school consoles with every game that made for them. You really can't beat that deal for $100. So there it is. Get in contact with me. Hope the video was informative. Have fun.